Sometimes when we are looking to the future, anticipation of what's to come is half the battle. The sense of what might be, of what the potential difficulties could be that are coming down the pike can be overwhelming. And sometimes just what's coming down the pike and knowing it's coming down the pike is overwhelming. Jesus knew that. Jesus experienced that too. And as the divine representation and holy incarnation of God and fully human, he knew what it was like from both sides. From the divine side that sees all the way to the end and knows the end, and also from the human side that says, this ain't gonna be good. Right before this experience of the Mount of Transfiguration, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he tells them what's coming. He tells them that he is going to be found guilty, that he is going to be tried and crucified and die, and after 3 days, he's going to be resurrected. It's not good news. Peter says, no way, this is not going to happen to you, Jesus. You're not going to die. This can't happen. And Jesus rebukes him and calls him Satan and says, get away from me. This is going to happen. And now the next thing that we have happening a few days later is Peter, the one who said, this ain't happening, along with 2 other disciples, and they go up on the mountain, and Jesus is transfigured before them. This moment is a moment for us as well, because we are about to be in the time of Lent, in the season in which we anticipate and live in and honor the reality of suffering, both Jesus and the disciples and ours. We're going to be really tangibly experiencing and honoring that life is rough, that the decisions and ways in which we move through this world are hard. And we're going to see it modeled for us in the person of Jesus all the way to the cross. So we're basically like standing on one end as a bookend, right? Transfiguration. We're going to move through those stories of difficulty, and we're going to come out on the other end at Easter. So we're looking at these 2 bookends, these 2 promises that are full of hope. So what do we do with them? Resurrection, we're on the way there, but first we're anticipating a whole lot of tough, difficult stuff. We're also standing on a mountain looking at the Super Bowl. We're also on a mountain looking forward to a presidential election. We're looking at things that we're anticipating. Some of us with great joy, maybe you're really excited about the Super Bowl, but the election, maybe not. Maybe you're pretty worried and anticipating what could happen in the midst of this time of tumult, of democratic upheaval. Some of us are also anticipating other things in our lives that are very much like Lent. They look like they're headed toward a really unhappy ending. How do we stand in that? How do we let the light of Christ shine through us with the knowledge of Jesus Christ, as 2 Corinthians invites us to do? Well, seems to me Transfiguration gives us some really good lessons and possibilities. For one thing, we've got Peter. Peter's like us, right? He gets up there and he wants to control it. Because when I'm anticipating something that I don't really want to have happen, I'm really like, let's get it under control. Let's make a plan. Let's know what's going to happen. Let's, as much as possible, say this is how it's going to be, right? So he doesn't know what is happening. He doesn't get this at all. Jesus is like completely supernova in front of him, and he's seeing 2 other figures, and later we're going to know for sure it was Moses and Elijah. They got it. Let's build some booths. He's trying, right? And we try in those situations to do our best. But in the meantime, there's another possibility. There's another possibility, which is what God invited them to do. To see it, to look, and to listen, right? They looked Jesus is revealed in all of his glory, and they saw it. They saw it. They didn't get it. They had no words for it. They never probably had words for it. Over the generations, we finally got this story down kind of pat. But at the time, what happened? They didn't know, but they saw it. And then when the cloud of God's presence oversaw and overshadowed them, he said, "This is my son. Listen to him. Listen to him." The light of the hope of the glory of God in Christ Jesus is shining through our lives. We are shot through with the goodness and the hope and the beauty and the truth of God. It's there for us. In Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, it says, "Whatsoever is good and pure and noble and of good repute and beautiful, think on these things." Look at them, observe them, keep your eyes open, because sometimes when you're anticipating the worst, you cannot see the best. Sometimes when you're thinking about death, you forget about life. And as we are looking at so much uncertainty in our personal lives and in our national life and in our global life, we have a beautiful opportunity to stand on the holy ground of this moment and look and see the presence of God. Will we do it? When we do it, we will see transfiguration all over the place. We might even see that there is a potential for change in things that all we could see before were shadows. Let me give you an example. So yesterday I was here, and Scott and I were doing some stuff here because our Wi-Fi has been down all week, so we were coming over here so we could take care of our work. And I looked out the window, and out here on the benches was somebody that just drives me cuckoo. Every time I see her, I'm like, oh. She has an addiction. Whenever she comes here, she leaves her stuff. It's not her fault. She has an addiction. My fault is I can only see her in the darkness of that. I can only respond to her out of my own feeling of this person irritates me. But yesterday, a little light went through my heart and said, attend to this person. Quit just reacting. Quit anticipating the next annoying encounter you're going to have with her, and be present. So I walked out and I just stood there, hi. And she said, "I've got such a toothache. It hurts so bad." And I said, "I have a dentist who will take your tooth out for free. I wish there was more you could have, but a removal of your pain is a good thing." And everything changed. I was able to see that there was something that God could do through me, and she could see that I cared about her more than I actually do. But now, as I think about it, you know what I'm saying, right? I'm human too. But now when I think about her, I've been starting to hold her in the light of why am I always thinking it's going to be awful? What if I held her in the transfiguration light of who she will be, not who she is? Who God could change and move and bring her someplace I can't even imagine. So I'm doing a little mental thing here, friends. I'm putting this beloved child of God that I had on a shelf down at the end of a dark corner, who I have often thought she's probably just going to die. I am putting her on the altar next to me, helping me celebrate Eucharist. And someday it's going to happen, whether it's here or somewhere else. That's our end story: transfiguration, resurrection. So why won't we do that more often for each other? Let's try. Let's claim it. Let's stand in it. Are you thinking of somebody that you need to claim transfiguration for? You got someone in your mind? If you want to name that person, I invite you to stand up and just say one name. You know, you've got that person in your mind. If they're not there yet, they're going to come this week. The last nerve will help that name come to mind for you if you're anything like me. I invite you to also think about participating in our Tuesday evening home group. Because as we move through Lent, we're going to gather and we're going to think about how to be intentional to look and listen to God and let that light of resurrection hope go through our lives. Final story for you. I heard this story and I feel like it really holds the power of what this means. So there's a program at St. Louis University where they go into the prisons and they teach. And the inmates and the staff don't go to school together, but they both go to school separately, get taught from professors. Scott was one. My husband Scott has been a professor there. And they get an opportunity to get a 2-year degree from St. Louis University. When they get paroled, if they want to continue their degree, they can go seamlessly and get a bachelor's degree. So those men go to school and those inmates are earnest students, earnest. They study, they think, they engage, they work hard to get that degree. And then the day comes when they graduate. They have that 2-year degree. The families come, they're in a special room at the prison and the families are sitting there. And I don't know if they play pomp and circumstance, but I do know that these inmates walk into that room with a mortarboard and a gown. They have been transformed by a process. They have been transformed by the hope that they don't have to be who they are. They will be what they become. And that is our hope too. So may we stand in it. May we claim it. May we look and listen for the power of God to shine through today and tomorrow and all the way to the end. Because if we don't, we're going to get really confused by all the world around us, freaking out about everything. And if we stay and we look and listen, we will see that the light ahead of us is shining with the light of the knowledge of the glory of Jesus Christ. And it is more than enough.